Ooh. Hi everyone, welcome back. The car's obviously not here. It's still at the chassis shop and might be for a little bit. But that makes it a great opportunity for us, while we have the room, to start putting more parts together. If you're new to the channel or a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing and tell your friends about the channel if you like what you see, or maybe they'll like what they see. It's essentially me trying to run a race shop out of my backyard by myself. And basically all I do with this channel is try to teach people that with a little bit of effort and stick-to-itiveness, I guess, you can do whatever the heck you want. Whether it's build hot rods, work on street cars. You don't need a garage to do all that stuff. It helps tremendously, trust me. Don't get me wrong. Let's be honest, it's really nice to have. Have a race car. Follow your dreams, essentially. Be self-sufficient and do it whatever it takes to make your dreams happen. And that's exactly what we do in here, in the Dream Factory. I wouldn't call it the Dream Factory, let's be fair, because the last, handful of years, it's been really difficult. But we're trying. We're trying our best to make that happen. But like I said, there's no car here. So, what are we going to do? Well, I'll show you how full of absolute junk the place is at the moment. But what we're going to do is, it's over here in the corner. I've got parts, and I've got stuff that needs to be prepared for next racing season. And while the car is out of the shop and I have some room to move around and work, we're going to put those together. So instead of pointing broadly across the shop and trying to show you what they are, why don't I show you a little bit up close? Wow. Okay, so this place is absolutely stacked up with spare parts and other stuff that I just don't have the room for. I gotta find room for this stuff somehow. I don't know how I'm gonna find room for it. Like this whole rear end here, this is a full, and it's even got the chuck in it. It's a full floating 9-inch rear set up for my car. I just don't have the room for that. I got stuff on the shelves that I don't have room for. I've got stuff in the corner. This engine has to go to my brother. I think we're gonna use it as his shop. And I should get it out now while I got the chance. Look, I got jacks, the scooter, generator, hand truck, and about all of my tires that I have in inventory from both Thompson and Stafford. I don't know what to do with them. I got so much stuff. I need the rims, obviously, clearly. But the tires, every single tire I have is so old, they're not really usable. Let's be fair. All of these need to just be taken off rims and thrown away. So eventually that'll probably happen, especially because they were all made after COVID, and they're probably junk because they've sat around for so long. I haven't been able to afford tires because of trying to run everything else. Either way, what we're really doing is back here. In the pile of utter despair. No, all these parts are still good, so it's not complete despair. Like this radiator is good, it's just too big for my car. There's an axle down here. There it is. There's an axle there, and there's a gigantic housing right here. This is my Stafford rear that I bought so that we could put this together and go run it with a brand new rear, off the jig, completely straight, and just have something that's good. Now, let me tell you why we bought this specific rear. The rear in question is a bolt-in axle Ford 9-inch rear. The reason we have a bolt-in axle Ford 9-inch rear as opposed to be using the floater is because the division that we want to race, which is at Stafford, only allows for either factory rear, which is a 10-bolt GM rear, the 7.5-inch, 58-inch wide, the factory G-body rear, which you can use. We've used it for decades at this point. However, that rear is as fragile as glass. It is a, like I said, 7.5-inch ring gear. Not really built for a lot of wear and tear. They do break. The axles are only, I think, 26 spline. If you get racing axles, usually we don't break them. Usually. The axle tubes are only pressed into the center section. So I know of some guys who will literally weld them to the center. But then you got to straighten them because moving the heat around that housing tends to pull it in weird directions. And it's kind of a pain. So I'd like to keep mine as a backup. Now, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have a backup because interchanging between the factory rear and how I set up the Ford 9-inch, I don't even have to change the drive shaft. It's literally the same thing. I can just throw each one in and out. But why I wanted to go to a Ford 9-inch, okay, it's a little bit heavier. The housing's heavier, the gears are heavier, the axles are heavier, so it's a little bit more of a drain or a drag on the drivetrain, correct? However, they're also a whole lot tougher. And through the rigors of racing, that ring and pinion will stand up to anything that I throw at it, no matter what. Shock loading, you know, on and off throttle, getting hit, it's going to stand up to it. No problem. A 7.5 may, but that's a risk, you know. I'm looking to make the car as bulletproof as I possibly can. That way, whatever failure happens is a surprise or random at best. I don't want to take myself out of this by any means, which we've already done a very good job at trying to do that already by wrecking the car in practice, which if I actually remember to stick the video up in the corner, wherever that may go, you can go watch that if you haven't seen it already. So the 9-inch housing is much stronger by leaps and bounds. It's got 31 spline axles, much stronger. It's got a 9-inch ring and pinion, much stronger. So that's my whole point. That's what I wanted to do. Plus, like I said, it just came off a jig, so it's straight. I know it's straight. Well, to be fair, the 7.5 that's currently in the car at the chassis shop, it's straight too. We strung the car and it's straight. So at least I don't have to worry about that. So what I need to do is, the axles that come with this are cut to fit. So what we have to do is fit the axles into the housing, and we have to cut them down in order for them to slide into the center section appropriately. It's just a matter of how much we have to cut off. And that's going to be an adventure in itself because I've never done that, but I get the principles of how to do that. So let's just get this thing dragged out. Let's get the chop saw out. Let's get the tape measures out. And let's start putting things together in a manner with which we can actually work on it. So while I was gathering all the stuff that I'd ordered and built previously, I suppose, I got a text from the chassis folks and they said, hey, you know, it doesn't look too bad. I brought them some steel today also. I think I gotta go outside and get the rest of it out of the truck because I bought 2 sticks of frame material. And it might be raining, so I think I'm just going to go rescue that and put it up in the rafters where it belongs first. But I'll run you through what I got here. Like I said, we've already gone over all the rest of the stuff. I got this big box of projects. I got the bolts and studs for the center section sitting right here. So we got to put all those in. I got inner axle seals. Apparently I got 3 of them. I didn't realize I had, 4 of them. Did not realize I already had those. Let's see, I got, that looks like a ball joint thing. Oh yeah, I got, oh wait, those are the studs. Wait a minute, what are these then? What am I looking at? All right, so these are the studs. I don't know what these are. Maybe these are all the other things that I have no freaking clue, guys. I don't even know what this is. I'm gonna have to read that, whatever. Anyway, I got the brake caliper weld on stuff as well, but I'm gonna do that when I have it in the car. And the same thing with the spring pockets that are over here. We're gonna have to do those when they're in the car so that I can line it up accordingly and tack it in place. The brakes, I'm gonna have to have somebody help me because I'm gonna put the axles in, rotors on, then I'm gonna put the caliper, like bolt the rotors, to the axle, and then slide the caliper with the brakes or the brake pads onto it. Have somebody sit in the car, hit the brakes, and that'll hold the caliper in place. And I can just kind of roll it wherever I need to and then zip it on with the welder. And then once I get that on, I can take it back apart and weld it all the way around and stuff. So that's my plan so far. I'm gonna go get that piece of metal out of the back of the truck so that doesn't get rusty and disgusting, and we'll get back to work on this. So unfortunately, I've looked around everywhere and I cannot find the accompanying nuts with all these bolts and studs. Luckily, these that hold the center section on to the housing are the same size and thread as the ones that hold the axle into the housing as well. So now I've got to find, which I did find, at least one nut that's in there somewhere that I have to use to try to pull these through and get them to seat in the housing so that I can at least start putting the center section in, because we're going to need that in order to mock up the axles. So if I don't strip this nut out, which you can barely see in there, we can at least get something started. These, they just kind of sit in here on the sides, and they don't get pulled through like these knurled end studs. So those are, a little easier. But these, we're going to start pulling these through and make sure that this thing can go together. I got to run something by you guys while I have you here. I've been, ever since we got monetized, I've been kind of considering, maybe we'll put more than one episode out every week, right? And I'm not sure if I want to do that. I've been putting out something relatively close to an hour. And I was thinking, about maybe taking that and making it 2 videos a week at shorter lengths. Not sure exactly if that's what y'all want, but, y'all are the viewers. I don't know why I'm saying y'all. I'm from New England. You all are the viewers. That doesn't sound great either. Either way, you guys watch, and I value your opinions heavily because, well, you're the ones consuming the channel, so, clearly this is for you guys. Do you want me to go to, more videos a week, or do you prefer just kind of the one? I already know my answer, but I really would like your opinions. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings if I go to 2 or something, but let me know what you think. Either way, I think I'll throw this on time lapse because doing this by hand kind of stinks. So I'm going to break out some power tools. Wow. Look at the dirt. Oop, can't see it there. Yeah, we shook all the dust loose in this thing. It must have been sitting around the shop for, 6 months or more. So we're gonna have to clean that up. I am deaf from trying to hammer these things in. By the way, the nut that I picked, it went righty-loosey on the first stud. So I'll just throw that one away. And I had to use this one, which is an old lock nut. You can see the kind of pinched end on it. Tech tip: get your tap set out. If you have a lock nut that you want to use as a regular nut, that's not nylon, obviously. Grab your tap set and do what I did in the video. Stick this thing in a vise upside down, clearly, because you can't tap through the lock section. And run the tap all the way down through it, and then back it out all the way, and it'll cut that lock section out, and you can use it as a regular nut. I also oiled the threads and oiled the washers that I used, and I ended up pretty much destroying 2 top washers doing this because it just ate right into it. But needless to say, it looks like they're all in. So now we can move forward with putting the center section in and starting to figure out where we're gonna cut this. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of research and see if I can just shove a tape measure down and then measure where the flange sits, and see if I can't just measure it out that way without having to do it by, you know, putting it in multiple times and marking it and cutting it and marking it and cutting it. I wanna see if I can just put the thing in and see if it'll go. But that might have to wait, because unfortunately, even though I just started and it's only the first day of me working in here, I don't have hardware. I don't have any of the washers or nuts to put the axle retainer on. So it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to go to the hardware store tomorrow after I get out of work. I'll have to bring one of the, actually no, I don't need to bring one, because using that tap set, I actually figured out what the thread is on it. I think it's a 3/8 by 24. It's a fine thread, so I'll just go to the hardware store and pretty much empty them out of 3/8 by 24 fine thread. Or I might even have to go to Amazon and get a bulk of it, but I don't really know yet. I'll go futz around and see if I gotta go to different places, because usually for fine thread stuff like this, they don't really keep a lot in the drawers or on the shelves, and this might be difficult to find. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of rooting around. I might go to Ace, I might go to Home Depot, Lowe's, another Ace, and just empty everybody else out, because I need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 18 to 20 of them. So it's like, yeah, you're not getting that in one store. So either way, we're gonna have to do a lot of searching tomorrow in order for us to actually get back to work tomorrow. So I will do that, and I'll see you then. All right, I'm finally back the next day. It took me all day to get here. Now it's kind of late evening, so I don't have a heck of a lot of time out here, but at least we can try to get something mocked up, ready, done, cleaned off, whatever the case may be. These axles and the housing and everything, they've been sitting in the garage for so long. And if anybody's new to my channel, well, this garage is, well, kind of piecemealed and in a bunch of different sections. And the floor is trash because it was poured not really with this in mind. It was probably poured for just running lawnmowers in and out of here, and not for car use, but it's big enough for a car, so I don't know. But they didn't care about that because the floor is nowhere even near level. It slopes down here, and it's like, I think from this corner to that corner, it's like 1 inch to 1.5 inches lower than over here, which is why when I built my leveling pads, they're so different. But the floor is also not sealed, and it's not a very good mixture. Like over there where it's a high traffic area, there is like no mortar left, and it's just aggregate, and it's really disgusting, and it dusts really, really badly. So there's a lot of particulate around at all times. Like if you looked in here, like that last shot, this is disgusting. It's all sorts of all over everything here like that. See that? My hand was clean. And it's like that on all the other ones too. So I'm gonna have to take the air blower out and some rags and just clean everything off before I can even think about trying to mock this up. So we're gonna do that first, and then I think I'm gonna dry mock it. Like I'm gonna put this axle tube in with no center section just to see where the axle bearings kind of seat and how far everything kind of sits in here so that I can get a good idea of where it stops and where I can kind of maybe put the center section in and then run a tape measure in until it hits the cross pin. That way I'll know how far out these axles will probably have to get cut and have at least an idea of where to start. So let's just start mocking stuff up and see what happens. So the axle bearings fit, no problem, so that's a good sign. And these things are way longer than I really needed. I don't think there was a price difference in the long and short ones for the cut-to-fit axles, but I overestimated how much I would actually need to cut off. It's probably like, let's see, that much, probably. It's going to be a lot, and that's going to really suck, but that's why I have a chop saw from the 1970s. So I came up with a rudimentary way of measuring to the flange because the seal, these are conical bearings. You can buy the sealed bearings, but these, I don't know, they came on the axles and I didn't feel like changing them because, well, they were new. And I figure, you know, we'll just run that. That'll be fine. So either way, the seal has a little line on the half mark, and if you butt it up against where the bearing sits, you know, that's exactly where the flange is on here. So if we put the center section in, run a tape measure into there, and figure out that length, and then, I don't know, measure it from that line up here, you'll probably get a pretty close measurement and cut it a little long, and then just kind of keep taking little shreds off of it until it fits properly. You don't want it to bottom out on the pin, clearly. You want it to have a little bit of gap because, well, it ain't going nowhere. It's bolted into the housing end, so the axle bearing is literally also your retainer, so it can't move in and out. So still, you don't want it riding on the pin. So we'll get that cut down once we get the center in, and we'll take a couple measurements. Maybe I'll even hold the axle up to see where it looks like it's. I'm going to do a lot to make sure that I don't screw this up. Unfortunately, I was unable to get out after work and find more of these 3/8 by 24 nuts. So that's great. Otherwise, you know, I'm going to have to do that at some point very, very soon because I can't really rely on one unless I just leave it standing upright like that. And obviously, we don't have a gasket. I'd love to get one of them lube locker gaskets, something that's reusable, because, man, using a silicone sealant of any kind on one of these Ford 9-inch rears is just not fun. If I could recommend anything on these, it's to use the paper gasket that you probably should, and don't use goob on it because it's real difficult to get apart. If I had it my way, what I would do with these, oh boy, I'm not going to be able to get this lid off one-handed, huh? But if I had it my way, I would drill into the housing of the Ford 9-inch and thread some threads into it where it's like in between these holes. That way, when I go to take it off, I could just thread a nut, or a bolt, into it and use that to push the housing out and make my life 10 times easier, which, you know what, since I have it out, I was actually thinking of doing. Only concern is if it leaks, but it'll be over a gasket. Maybe I can just throw a dab of goop on it and it won't be a big deal. But let's get that out, plop her in there, see if we can get this thing to go. In typical Ford 9-inch fashion, one side is cut to a very short amount and the other side is cut to a huge amount. So it's like 7 inches over here and 2.5 over there. Because, you know, Ford 9-inch life. You can have a perfectly centered rear, no problem. It could be centered at the hubs to the middle, no problem. Your axles are still gonna be like enormous and nothing. That's how it was on that rear. I built that rear. It is perfectly centered at 58 inches to the center of the pinion, but like one axle is like 28 inches and the other one's like 31.5. I forget what exactly it is, or 32.5. It's so standard. That's just how it is with these Ford 9-inch. Now, with a factory rear, which I don't have here, for example, a factory GM 7.5-inch rear, the axles are actually the same length. I got a couple measurements. I'm going to keep about 1/4 inch of play, just so it doesn't bottom out into the pin. And I figured 1/4 inch will be plenty, especially for a bolt-in axle. I don't know if that's really what you're supposed to do, but I know that I do not want the axles to ride on the pin, especially because it's an open rear. So that said, let's get the chop saw warmed up, get our dust mask, some hearing protection, some goggles, some gloves. I wish I had a hat because this thing loves to throw sparks everywhere, especially in my hair. So let's start chopping. You ever want to be stressed out in the garage? Take brand new. I forgot how much these axles were. I forget, they're like at least $200. If I forget, maybe I'll put it up on the, I don't know. But take brand new axles and cut them. Take anything brand new and hack it up, even though you have to. Because if you do it wrong, guess what? Now you're out an axle. So, stressful times. Guys, looky there. Look at the axles. Hang on, it's an open diff, so if I step on that one so that it's not turning. It works. All right, we gotta test, both of them here. Granted, there's no oil in it, but all right. Not turning. Turning. Look at that. That is one legal Ford 9-inch rear I just set up there. Look at that, huh? Thing of beauty. Now I got a whole stream of death in the air. You'll notice in the video, I took and I beveled the edges on the old angle grinder here. And these axles are so hardened, it gouged my bench grinder. I'm like, holy cow. All right, yeah, see, it gouged it over here too. When I went to wire brush any edges or slag or, grindings or whatever off of them. But look at that. Now all I need is all the hardware that I couldn't get, which, since it's together and it's not going in the car yet, I'm actually going to look for something like... what guys normally do here is they put washers in to space this thing out so that it doesn't over tighten. I obviously have to take this thing all back apart completely anyway, so it doesn't really matter because I got to put the axle seals in. I want to paint it. I want to do all sorts of stuff. But should I just get a whole bag of washers and just do what everybody else does and then just run her home with a nut here? Or do I try to find some kind of specialty? I don't even know if they make them, but I could look for like a 3/8 by 24 nylock nut for these axle ends and regular ones for over here because I usually just run regular nuts on mine and just run them down and they don't do anything. But look at that. Functional. Straight, new, functional. That's all I wanted out of this. All right, so I still got to get hardware. I might have to Amazon that just to get the right stuff because I really doubt I'll be able to find that local unless there's like a fastener place, like a Fastenal or something nearby or whatever. But I think we'll get another transmission built. I grabbed the one out of the trailer and I have all the gears sitting on the shelf. And you've seen me do this tons of times. I'm just looking to make sure I have the gears. I can't see them behind this, but I'm pretty sure they're there. Either way, we'll find them if we can't see them immediately. But you've seen me build transmissions. And I've actually did a video. That was my first one that's got a ton of views. And I showed you how I build these transmissions. So I think I will probably just do that to finish off the video. And hopefully we'll have some gears all set to go. When we go racing next year, I want to be as prepared as possible. And this is what you want to do. You want to be prepared. So what you're going to do is you're going to do what I'm doing. You're going to have spares and you're going to have stuff ready to go just in case. I'm going to have this brand new rear, which again, I'm thinking we're going to use because I paid for it. And I do want to be as bulletproof as possible. You got to build your car strong. You don't want to make it this flimsy thing that's, oh, it's really lightweight and fast. Yeah, as soon as somebody hits you, you're done. You know, like I've seen guys build their cars. I've said it on here before. I've seen guys build their cars as lightweight as possible. And then once, it starts to hit the fan, their body's hanging off and they get black flagged and put in the infield and they're done for the night because you can't pit there. So my car is built strong and I want strong components. And this is one of them. So when it comes to the transmissions, I got to pull the one in the car out. I think I might have to swap the main shaft in it, which I think I've mentioned on a video before, but that'll be at a different time. But when I go racing, I'm going to have 2 complete rears, one of which being a Ford 9-inch. I'm going to have 3 transmissions ready as well. Can't tell me I'm not going to be prepared. Plus, the car is likely going to be back this week. Like it's going to be Friday, today's Wednesday. Hopefully it's back soon. So that's kind of a surprise. I expected that thing to be gone a little bit longer, just wasn't sure how much damage it had. But either way, I didn't have a lot of time to come out here tonight, but I did get a heck of a lot done and kind of learned some stuff. I hope you guys learned a little bit too. But that being said, I'll be back again tomorrow. So it's the next day. I'm laughing because earlier in the video I said, oh, I think I'll make this into 2 videos and make the videos shorter for y'all. And, maybe I'll get more reach on YouTube and doing this and that. I'm not going to hide any of that stuff. If I put out more videos, I'm going to try to get more ad revenue from YouTube so that I can maybe pay for a tire, And if I put smaller episodes out, maybe it's a little bit easier for some people to watch. But that's probably not going to happen this week, unfortunately, because I've been so busy. I've been running around doing errands. I actually had to work overtime this week. Figures, as soon as I come back from eye surgery, I'm working overtime. It's like, okay, I'll work my 6th day and stuff like that. But I haven't been getting out into the shop until like after 6 p.m. And then it's like I'm out here for a couple hours and I got to go right back in because I have to go to bed early because I work early. So it's like the littlest amount of free time that I have, I'm usually spending it out here and there's not a lot of it. So either way, I'm going to Well, I gotta update you. I didn't even bother looking for fine thread bolt or nuts around here because I'd have to go to every single store and I'd probably still come up short because a lot of these places just have drawers and you pull them out and there's like a little bag of fine thread ones. Nobody has fine thread in bulk unless I went to a fastener store like Fastenal or something, and I don't even know where one is around here, and I don't think it's very local. So, and I don't think it's open when I actually get out of work on time. So Amazon it was. It'll be here next week. I'll just throw the Nylock, the 50 set of Nylock stainless steel nuts that I bought for 10 bucks. Just use those, the hell with it. All right, so I'm gonna get to work on putting together another transmission. You've seen me do this before if you're a long-time viewer. Like I said before, there's been, when I redid the whole channel, I put a video up essentially teaching you how to do that my way. I don't think it's the right way, but it works, so whatever. So I'm gonna go put another transmission together. Like I said, then I'll have 3 with 2 rears. At least I'll have good driveline inventory. So, all right, let's clean this pile of garbage off and get to work. You know, at one point I was told by somebody who watched that revival video where I go through the process of how I build these transmissions. I was told by them that my brutal disassembly was awe-inspiring. I don't really know if that's a compliment or not, but apparently the mice are moving in because this thing is covered in poop, which is fabulous. So in order for me to put this together as a 150, I gotta change it with that gear and throw that one on there somewhere, and all of it has to go back together. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't do it in a brutal fashion. Go. Look, I remember to put the pin in the reverse gear, which I usually forget. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do it exactly what I did the last time. Remember a couple videos ago I showed you how to count these and make sure they're right? Well, we're going to do that again. Just because I got to make sure. But like if I roll it, let's see here. If I can even get reverse by doing it by hand. Ouch. Okay, there's a cut. All right, now it's jammed up. All right, so what are we stuck in here? Probably the fact that it has no oil in it and very, very fresh synchros, which are kind of hanging up on these. Maybe if I dump a little oil in there, we can get that rolling real quick. Yep, that's exactly what it was. I stuck a screwdriver in and just kind of touched it away. Kind of like, that's a knife. Let's not use that. Okay. Tiny little screwdriver. If you get it locked, if you do one of these and you get it feeling like it's locked up, chances are good that your synchros are a little bit tight to their surface because there's no oil in it and the oil kind of helps it move. And a fresh one will stick. So see, we're in reverse. Let's go this way. Yep, that's the opposite direction. Make sure first works. It's really hard to do one-handed, you know. Tripod would have helped. Come on. There we go. Again, fresh synchros. All right, back to neutral. Let's get second here without cutting ourselves. Nope. Second's the one that I want to test. There we go. All right, second gear works. Longest shot ever. Third gear works. All right, so all the gears work. That's good. Now I'm going to paint lines on it. We're going to go back and check it again. Kind of hard to see the line, but that's there. That's there. Second gear. Let's roll it so that the tail shaft goes one rotation. That's one on there. I know you can't really see it, but you got to trust me on this one. That's that. Where are you at? Exactly half. That is a 1.5. Now to test it one more time. Roll it again. And it goes exactly back to 1. There you go. That is 1.5. Quick coat of paint. Actually, I got grease all over this thing from putting the bearings in. Again, go watch my video, if I remember to put it back up, on how to build a Saginaw transmission. Grease is definitely your friend. You can use it to hold some of the spacers and washers, and you definitely need it to hold the needle bearings in for the cluster gear in the bottom. That guy down there. So that thing's your friend. I'll get some goop out. Once I clean this whole thing off, we'll get it painted. I'm going to goop that end where that cluster gear shaft comes through. I don't know why they don't just seal that off with, I don't know, whatever. But I'm also going to do some boring stuff, like look for the seals that I just lost and replace the cover seals because they don't look so great. We'll get all that stuff done off camera. As for me, I'm done for the evening. Again, I've been working overtime this week. As soon as I go back to work, it's immediately overtime. And I got a good, decent-sized commute, so I know a lot of you can probably relate. I'm going to go wipe all the greasy fingerprints off of my lenses, because everything is gear oil and grease on me right now. And I'll see you hopefully tomorrow. And I don't want to, like, put pressure on people, but tomorrow was, fingers crossed, the day that my car was supposed to be done. So we'll see if it is. We'll see if he had a little bit busy week and couldn't get to it. But either way, if the car don't show up, we'll figure out something to do next. But that's tomorrow. It's the next day, and I haven't really done anything. I tried my best to clean the shop out. Let me show you what I've gotten done so far, even just as I start tinkering at 9 o'clock at night, so I'm only going to be out here for an hour. I've done nothing. Actually, no, I started on trying to make another right front spare. I have a whole bunch of left fronts, and I don't normally go through these at all, but I mean, you never know. We have had instances where we have gone through a lot of parts, but more on that in a minute. This I don't have room for, so I don't know where to put it. So I step over that. Here's 2 transmissions. Remember I just finished this one? Well, she's all painted up, ready to go. I put them on this shelf so that it'd be a lot more easy access. I got to find room for that now. Here's the other one that I just built. So these are 2 brand new 150s. I'm probably going to have to replace the shaft and the one that's in the car, which I'm hoping will be home tomorrow. No guarantees, though. Got to find a place for this brand new radiator. I know where that goes, but I can't put it anywhere. Other than that, it stinks like rubber in here really, really bad because I was trying to get the bushings out of this factory lower, which is all I have. And I just kind of used a torch to maybe heat up the area around it a little bit, and I just barely touched the rubber, and it just stinks like if you set it on fire. It stinks so bad. So anyway, I got this one out pretty well. Came out nice and clean. Didn't even bend it. Awesome. This one, however, I'm trying to press it out with my ball joint tool because, well, the press, I don't know how to do this with, I forgot how. I used to know, I forgot. And I'm pushing it out, and the keen-eyed observer will see that I missed this because they took the lip on here and like spread it over the thing to stop it from backing off. Well, I pushed the rubber trying to get that to just crack free. And apparently it pushed the rubber into the sleeve so hard that it porked the sleeve inside the... I've never seen this before in my life. So we're going to resort to violence and cut it off that way. I tell you what, man, some days nothing goes your way. I'm telling you, and I'll be fair. This, except for one little nick there and there, just trying to cut this thing out. We didn't do a bad job. You know, this came out pretty good. Probably have to squeeze her back together there with a hammer a little bit, but not too bad. I'm thinking I might take this thing over here to my little blasting cabinet here. Since I got the air thing, oh, okay, well, I looked at it and they said, oh, by the way, if you have the little moisture things in here look pink, you got to change them. I've barely used it. They're already pink. That's great. So anyway, I got this old cabinet I can blow the dust off of. Maybe see if there's any mice in here. It looks pretty good. Anyway, I might slap her on in there, sandblast it down, see if that water separator works, and put together a nice new lower control arm there. Yeah, I think I'll just keep the left front. I don't need it right now. I have hurt left fronts, but let's be fair. But these uppers, lowers, whatever I'm trying to build, I'm so tired I can't even think. I go beefy. This is just a factory length, factory size, K727 Chrysler ball joint. Gotta weld in this thing. I got some urethane bushings and stuff. Like I said, what we'll do is we'll make some nice stuff. You know, I'll blast her on up here, make some more spares, paint it after I weld everything together. And continue making spares until the car comes back. But at the same time, if it comes back tomorrow, what the heck am I going to do with all this crap? as I watch the final night of Stafford, the track that I'm supposed to be racing at next year, and sitting here in a cloudy, smoky, rubber stinking, dusty little garage, thinking to myself, well, you know, maybe someday we'll be good again. Maybe someday we'll have the opportunity to start our career over again for the third time. I just kind of hope that we can enjoy that kind of success and that we can get back on the top step that we've been off of for a long period of time and really, really struggled. And I'm just hoping that building a brand new race car and building all these spares and building the program that I'm kind of building right now, with everything being new and everything being right and everything being straight and square, and I just kind of hope it works out, you know. Not trying to get all philosophical or anything, but this probably is going to be my last chance in racing, and I really don't want it to be the end after one little try. I want it to kind of go somewhere too. So I'm gonna probably, you know, it's kind of stupid, but I'm probably just gonna wrap up shop for the night, and if the car doesn't come home tomorrow, then I'll get to work on that lower and show you how I go through and make those. And if it does come home, well, we're gonna bring it home and I'll show you. So it's been really tough. You know, it's funny, as soon as I finally hit that goal barrier of the 1,000 subscribers, which I can't tell you how much I appreciate that from every single one of you, then all of a sudden we tank, and I got busy doing an actual real job. So, you know, it is what it is. We'll get back to work on a lot of stuff. It's just that I really kind of preach, please be patient with me. That's all I ask, because they can't all be winners. I can't be one of those YouTubers who goes out and is like, here, this week, I'm, you know, going across the country. I'm going to drive 1,200 miles home in a truck I found in a barn. It's like, this is the reality of racing that I kind of try to bring to you guys. And sometimes you just don't have anything. But we're working still. We're finding stuff to do. So we'll have to just see what tomorrow brings. Well, guys, it's the next day, and clearly I'm in my truck because we're going to pick the car up. Somehow miracles have happened, and I got to a point where the car fits back in the shop again. So I had to get about, I don't remember how many tires I have, 6, 11, 15. I had to move 15 tires out of here, get them outside. They're going to have to go in the trailer. I literally don't have anywhere else to put them. I was thinking about tearing down this shed that's over here on this side of the house. That's not really a shed. It's more of a tarp over some really crappy old steel rods with a zipper. That's about it. I was thinking about putting a shed over there so I could just start moving stuff outside that really doesn't get hurt, like differentials, springs, whatever else I can. So I don't know. I got to sell a bunch of stuff. I got to get rid of a bunch of stuff. But that doesn't matter now, because the car is home. Now it's time to get it out. she's back in her spot. I'm kind of out of time right now. I gotta put it in the air, but I don't have a free moment. I gotta leave and do some family stuff real quick, but she's back. You see, got some frame repairs done in the rear. Had new frame section from the down bar right there at that section on both sides done. They retained the same hoop, but they were able to just kind of cut it, relieve it, and push it back into place, and now it fits the jig. So now I've got a whole laundry list of stuff to do again. So a lot of stuff that we've already done needs to be done over. And some of the stuff that I'm waiting to do, like that rear end that we showed in this video, that needs to be in the car in order for us to line up the spring perches. So that can be done. And a whole bunch of other stuff that involve the car can be done, which is good. So I got to put the fuel cell cage back in. I'm not sure if we're going to build a new one or try to make the old one work. Depends on how bent it is. I'm going to try to get the interior tin squared back away. It looks like it came back a little bit once he straightened it back out. But you never know. We're going to have to clean it up a bit, get it back in the air, pull the water out, probably pull the motor out again. Got to pull the transmission anyway. And we're going to have to take a look and refresh, or not refresh yet, but we're going to have to take a look at the motor. We've already looked at it, but it's going to be looked over again. So I got a whole list of stuff to do now that we got the car back, and that can clearly wait for the next episode. At least now the car's here and we can start working on it again instead of trying to make do with nothing. So I apologize about that, everybody, but you know, sometimes things happen. So anyway, thank you all again for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. We're going to try to keep pumping those numbers up so that maybe Google can send me some more money because of ad revenue. Now that we've crested that bridge and we've actually gotten above the 1,000 mark, which I appreciate greatly, maybe we can get more and more people and get them onto the DIY movement of doing things yourself. And even if we don't do it that great, at least we're doing it, right? So tell a friend if you think they'd enjoy something like this. Again, it's not going to be all racing related in the future, but for now it kind of is. And that's where we're going to stay, especially next year, because if we're going to race this thing full time, there's going to be a lot of racing content. So either way, thank you all again. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you next time.